This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace.
Hello, good morning, and welcome back to another episode of Saturday Morning Mysteries, where we're your hosts. I'm Grace.
And I'm Alexis.
And we're back to continue our Animalia tale, if you will, pun intended, on the tail. Now you see what I did there.
I did. It took me longer than I should have.
It's okay. When I was writing my episode for next week, I used the word tail, and I was like, nice. I'm so clever.
You've been ready to lay that joke down.
Exactly. But then I was like, why would I say this? And then I didn't actually put it in my script for next week. But anyways,
I'm glad it made it in somehow, some way.
I was going to find a way to shoehorn it in, obviously. And this week, Alexis will be telling us her episode. If you're just joining us in our Animalia arc, I would say it's worth listening to the first few episodes. It's a hard show. Not that the first and second episode tie into each other, and not that the other ones will, but it feels like a hard one to just break into,
launch into.
Turkey. Yeah, launch into. So just you don't have to though.
Maybe, or maybe not. Maybe not to a few things or a couple of things that you said there. The first being that the first two episodes were the only two that tied together.
Oh, yours ties together today?
Perhaps, maybe.
We don't fucking know.
We'll see.
All right.
And the other one being that, just jumping in at any moment, because I'm guessing that you're saying that the reason you're saying that is because the whole core sport thing can be kind of confusing to just jump in and understand.
Why are these children around animals in a different universe?
That too.
But I guess we didn't answer that many questions.
But the core spores also, I feel like you could kind of come in at any episode. I'm starting to feel like at least you could come in at any episode and be like, oh, okay, because listen, I still don't fucking understand what these things are. I feel like they change every week, Grace. And
I don't think
we'll get into it today, but
I don't think they understood what they were either. My last episode had nothing to do with them.
Oh, you're right. There weren't any. It was, that's such a good point.
No course.
And you know what, though? I will argue that your last episode was where the writers shined the best, though, because of all of the analogies that they made with Don Juan and everything. Don Juana. So I kind of feel like, I don't know, maybe thank you, Don Juan. Oh God, that's very different. Don Quixote. I feel like maybe the whole Course Force things was actually more of a distraction for the writers than they want to admit, because they couldn't quite figure out even what they are. So
I think that's very true. They were like, I guess we got to shoehorn this in, as if there was a source material to relate to that had to do with Course Force, and there
wasn't. Which again is why I was so surprised that the source material for this show that we're covering, Animalia, is a children's alphabet book. Keeping that all in mind.
Yep.
Today's episode, it comes from season 1, episode 7, and the episode it's based on is called Writing the Writing. So, writing with a W, writing with an R.
Thank
writing
you.
With a W.
Got it.
So the episode begins on a very beautiful morning in Animalia, and thus all of our favorite animals in Animalia and the humans are rightfully enjoying this truly beautiful morning in their own special ways. Okay. First and foremost, perhaps our favorite, Allegra the alligator.
What's she up to?
She is hanging out at her swamp shack with her 2 gator gals, and they have just installed a massive neon pink sign reading Allegra in cursive letters.
She would get along
right on top of her house.
Junior from Kim Possible.
Oh my God, they would love each other.
Neon sign so right. With your own name.
Yes, he might get a little tired of her eventually because she's just really not that bright, not that sharp. But neither's Junior. So imagine the conversations.
Imagine the fashion, the neon lights.
That is true. That is true. The music would be great. It would be bumping. I can see it. So, anyways, the reason why Allegra has put this massive neon sign on top of her shack is because she wants all her fans to know where to find her and that this is her turf, her home.
Okay.
So,
Hell yeah.
totally loving this beautiful sign that's all lit up on top of her home.
Mhm.
Her and her gator gals, her two friends, they peacefully sit on their front porch, on her front porch, just enjoying the weather and waiting for all of her adoring fans to just swarm her swamp
Mm.
shack and praise her and show her all of their love. So, meanwhile, though, our core four, Gabubu,
Core
Iggy,
four.
Alex, and Zoe,
Chasing the
I
course
feel like
four.
it's too
I like
perfect.
it. I like it. We're gonna use it.
Jason, oh, are we about to like come up with the rap about these?
Allegra's the songwriter. Get her on it.
So yeah, we'll consult her first. So these four, they're chilling in Gabubu's treehouse. Alex, he's like writing a morning journal entry or like diary entry,
Uh-huh.
saying how beautiful of a morning it is, and the birds are flying, and he loves waking up here in
Uh-huh.
Animalia and everything. But he later stops writing that journal and starts writing a song because Gabubu is nearby playing the drums. So
Okay, I
he
guess
maybe he
he's gonna use our
no,
rhyme.
it wasn't that rhyme. I didn't write it down, but it's not good. He should just stick to drawing. I think it was something along the lines of before the day is done, gonna have some fun in the sun or something
All
like
right.
that. Which is like, okay, that's cute and all, but don't quit your day
Next.
job, kid. Gabubu's drum playing is a lot better than Alex's songwriting is. We'll just
Yeah,
put it
this
that way.
checks.
But Gabubu, he's playing those drums very, very loudly, by the way. And remember, it
Mm.
is early in the morning still.
Oh, okay.
Just put a pin in that. Zoe, she's nearby, somewhere else in the treehouse, though, just texting away on her phone or looking at her phone, playing
She got
games
service
on
out
it.
here?
I guess.
Sexton?
I don't know, man. I listen.
Zoe's in her
I don't know.
own. Yeah,
She's
why?
not even texting. She's just like reading through past saved notes or whatever. She just has to be. It's like Tom Haverford, Parks and
Yes.
Rec. She just has to be attached to her phone.
At
She's
all times.
looking at it, not even sending anything.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Um, yeah, I don't know.
They
But
got 5G back
Iggy,
in 2007 in Animalia.
I wouldn't put it past these animals to be somehow more advanced than we are
Yeah,
today.
you're right. You're
So
right.
it's quite possible. But Iggy, lastly, he's also in the treehouse writing a romantic poem for his dear, beautiful Zoe, which he obviously dramatically reads aloud to her, and she
Yes.
just like shits on him and is very, not too much approving of this poem at
Yes.
all,
Whose
or of
poem
Iggy.
was better? Alex's song or Iggy's poem?
Oh, Iggy's easily. I don't even remember what Iggy said, but
But it was
there were
better.
metaphors, there was
Oh,
symbolism,
love them.
the performance factor, let alone Alex also can't sing, so that didn't help him either.
Got it. Yeah, great
Iggy
point.
got into it, so he was great. Yeah, so Zoe, she's being a little rude. Like I definitely rolled my eyes hard at her when she reacted to
Mm.
his poems. Like that was pretty mean. So, anyways, all of this, though, before I get on to what some of the other animals are doing this
Mhm.
morning, watching this scene with all of them at Kabubu's treehouse, kind of leaning into our wild speculation about this show here, it
Yes.
just makes me all the more concerned that Alex and Zoe seem to have no intention of returning back home. Like, they're
They're
fully
just
settled in here,
lazing
living in
around.
Gabubu's. Yeah, and it's not like this situation where they're going into Animalia to help them find these core spores, help them fix the core or anything. Like it's a calm, normal day, and they're just like bopping around, like, "Hey, so what are we gonna do
Yeah, they're not
today?"
like, let me
It's
go
like, "Where are
check in
your
on home really
parents?"
quick.
Yeah, exactly. And that got me thinking about other shows or like movies where kids enter this unknown world through a
Mm.
portal or something. And in almost every instance, you see them coming in and out of it to like live their normal lives at home
Yeah, they
while
live a
then
double
going
life.
back in. Yeah, exactly. Or they are actively trying to get out of this weird world and get back
Right.
home. Like no one ever wants to just stay there forever. So again, I ask, are they in a coma and
Are they
or
alive?
no longer alive? I
Are
don't
these kids
know.
conscious?
I don't know. And I feel like we
Yeah.
will never quite get an answer. All we can do is wildly speculate. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. And it's too, it's like Zoe wanted to go home. So it's not like there's like a bad home life that they want to avoid. Like
Yeah.
she was like, yeah, I miss my
Or
family and best friend, at least for Zoe. And so,
yeah.
yeah, she seems now to be fine with just chilling.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Hmm.
she realized that she could help save Animalia in that one moment, so she
Yeah.
went back. But she could have come back, and then she's like, "No, I guess I will stay here." Because Alex told her that whole thing, like, "I guess this is your place now, too, right? Like,
You
Animalia isn't
also,
just mine anymore; it's also
Alexis,
yours."
the first time Alex is the one who walked through the light and led the light, that's when it was like his. And then the second
Hmm.
time when Zoe, in your first episode, our second episode of this
Yes,
arc, she went back
she
to the
found her
real
own
world and
portal.
then she went through the light herself and led herself through the light.
Mm.
I'm just saying.
So it just took her a little bit longer, you
It got
know.
darker.
She wanted to
Maybe she
try to
was in a
reach one more
coma
time. Yeah,
and then
exactly.
she went towards
She
the
had a
light.
chance maybe of waking up, but then
Yeah,
instead
she.
she chose the light. I mean, just
Calls her Mike
saying,
says tease him. What can we
but
say?
we're probably wrong because again, this is all just based on a children's book about the alphabet.
About the
So
alphabet. D is for death. C is for coma.
C is for coma. F is for funeral. Yikes.
B is for body bag. I don't know.
Keeping it. M is for moratorium or mortuary. Yeah,
Mortality. There's a
mortuary.
lot on the end page.
I is for immortality, which, hey,
They
they
don't
had the
have.
option of too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anywho, so back to our animals and what they're doing on this beautiful, fine morning
Oh
in
yeah,
heaven,
beautiful,
in
sunny, cute
Animalia.
day.
I mean, yes. Tyrannicus, aka Tyra, as
Hmm.
you
Thank you.
brilliantly coined, I think last week. Yeah, which I'm going to use obviously
As we
here
should.
on out. He's probably the only one who's not actually having a great morning like the others because he finds himself stomping out of his massive mansion in this
Mm.
jungle and towards Gabubu's treehouse because obviously he finds Gabubu's drum playing a bit too
Oh,
loud for this,
that's
not a
right.
bit, way too loud
Way
for
too
this
loud.
time of day. Exactly.
Mm.
Or for any time of day, for that matter, or any time ever. He just
Mm.
wants Gabubu to stop. So once he reaches the treehouse, he threatens to have Gabubu thrown out of the rainforest and totally evicted from his treehouse
Whoa.
if he doesn't stop that idiotic pounding, which I'm like, damn, I did not know that Tyra had such authority, but I
Yeah, so I'm
don't know.
like, he's gonna excommunicate him. He's gonna exile
Yeah.
him. How?
Like, what are you gonna do? Is this gonna be through like a PR campaign? Like, I don't
Are
think
you the
he
HOA?
yeah, exactly, which it
A
doesn't
jungle
appear
HOA?
so. This doesn't
Hmm.
seem like an HOA kind of community. It doesn't
Situation.
have
Yeah.
that vibe, so I don't know. Um, but Gabubu, like us, scoffs at Tyra.
Okay, great.
He pulls out the literal rules of the jungle. Everyone in Animalia
Oh,
keeps a copy in their
it's like carrying the
house,
Constitution in your
obviously.
pocket.
Put a pin in that. Put a
Okay,
pin in that. The
interesting.
pocket-sized constitution is a literal phrase that appears later in this script. So thank you
I'm
for
so ready. Okay.
planting the seeds.
Yeah, truly.
Um, yes, so he pulls out the rules of the jungle and quotes that drum playing is permitted between the hours of dawn and midnight,
Okay.
proving to Tyra that his drum playing is lawful at this time or any
Wow.
time in the jungle. Yeah, like dawn to midnight. That's pretty shitty. I'm not gonna lie. Like they might want an HOA
They should
in this
have just
community.
done normal wake
Like,
hours.
yeah, exactly. I can understand like 10 to 10 maybe or
Yeah.
like 9 to 9, but dawn to midnight, that's literally all day.
Also,
It's
what
like all but like
drummer
4 hours.
besides Gabubu is waking up at dawn ever?
Yeah, very few, I
None.
guess. None.
Except for
Drummers
Gabubu.
for Christian rock bands or
Yeah,
church
they
bands,
got to get to
maybe.
church. Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
That's the only ones.
So Tyra is not super pleased with Gabubu's knowledge of the law or
Mm.
his willingness to ignore Tyra's threats. So Tyra just kind of says that he would much rather. It's also very hard to say Tyra being a man because I just keep wanting to say her, like Tyra Banks. That's why I like keep kind of pausing every time I
Yeah,
say Tyra.
yeah,
I'm
you're
like,
like,
wait,
wait, who?
Tyrannicus. Anyways,
Who?
yeah. So, so
She did have
Tyra
her red hair
responds,
for a while too, so it's
"This
even
is
more
true."
confusing.
And she's basically a tiger in human's
It's so
clothing.
true.
And I mean,
So
that is
true.
like the highest of all compliments
Yes,
as well.
exactly.
So if she somehow were to ever hear that.
She is. She's listening.
So I know she is. We know you're there, girl. We're smizing for you. Can't you tell? So Tyra responds saying that he'd much rather this whole jungle be a golf course before giving Gabooboo some threatening eyes. He does like
Oh,
like I'm
yeah.
watching you, and then signals that he's quite not quite ready to back out of this fight to evict Gabooboo.
Okay.
So last but certainly not least of all of our favorite animals in Animalia, we then see Livingston, the lion, and
Hmm.
Reenie, the rhino, enjoying some downtime in the library. Reenie, she's busy filing away books and everything and just kind of organizing things. It's nice and quiet, so she's just getting caught up on some work. And Livingston is just casually laid out on the floor reading through books. I actually think he's reading through the Animalian Bill of Rights, but there's
Oh.
apparently like there apparently there's a section in it that contains jokes, I guess, because he's like reading a joke out of it to Rini, because apparently, as he informs the audience,
Uh-huh.
the Animalian Bill of Rights gives animals the ability to tell jokes. So
Oh, that wasn't, the birds didn't say that last time. This was a later
I'm just
amendment.
saying,
Also,
I don't
I'm
know.
just picturing him like laying on his tummy, kicking his feet behind him, like head and paws.
That's that's basically the vibe, like
Yeah.
it's
Just
like a
not a
cat.
care.
He's like a lounging cat looking out of the
Oh, yeah,
window,
that
and there's
makes
just
more
like a book
sense.
in front of him, and yeah, it is very cute though.
Yeah, no, I like that. Also,
So
yeah, there's lots of
yeah,
communication related amendments,
yeah,
presumably.
and again, what the fuck is this Bill of Rights? Like again, I'm confused. I think you could jump into the show at any episode and it wouldn't matter because
We
everything is
don't
different.
know.
Like we don't
Everything
know.
changes.
Everything changes per episode. So, like, the Bill of Rights doesn't seem like something that would give. Maybe they mean it. If the Bill of Rights is what gives them the ability to speak, maybe that's what he's getting to at like
But
some
also, like,
deeper meta
that's what
level.
they've
Like,
said
because
the
we can speak,
core
we can
does.
joke. Oh, you're right. Yeah. Well, no,
Maybe
it
the,
was wasn't it that specific spore that came out?
yes, maybe the spores, maybe the core is actually their dictator, and the spores that it like shoots out are
Oh my
the
God.
amendments.
Not their dictator, because also put a pen in that. Why
No,
does that
I don't
line come up
want
later?
to. You can't make me.
Oh my God. Oh, that's funny. Because also it's just like imagining this inanimate object as their dictator. Like they don't know how
But
to communicate with it. So Livingston's just trying his best and thinks that he's
yeah,
like gonna get
but like
imprisoned or something if he doesn't figure it out.
they don't fix it. Livingston's just their doctor. I mean,
Yeah.
like all of the rules of Animalia and like the abilities given to the animals come from the core,
Yes.
you know?
Well, or do they come from the Bill of Rights?
Sorry,
Because
not its
but
dictator, their god.
they're what's a king to a god? What's,
The line's
uh,
blurry in Animalia.
they really are. They are because and we still don't really know why the core is acting up. Which okay, actually brings us back on track here
Oh,
to
great.
the episode a little bit. Kind of, it doesn't answer why the core is messing
Oh,
up or is
okay.
in this fragile state, but it just further proves how fragile of a state this core is in.
Uh-huh.
Because Livingston, so after he fails to make Reenie laugh at any of the jokes that he finds in this Bill of Rights, I guess, he stands up to throw the joke book on top of the Bill of Rights that also contains jokes. Joke of a book. Fuck this Bill of Rights. He chucks it on top of a nearby stack of books. But the stack is so tall that, like a Jenga tower, it starts to just like
Mm.
sway from side to side until the Bill of Rights at the top just slides off. And quite it literally, I cannot stress that it just simply, merely, only bumps the core.
Oh no.
And the core just immediately begins to like rumble and
Freak out.
shake and just freaks out and then starts to grow blue
Oh
from the
no.
center, turning more and more blue as the rumbles start getting louder and louder until, of course, there's a massive explosion of a core spore or of a
Mm.
core spore flying out of the core.
Okay, great. They've
So
angered
just
their
like,
god.
I guess he hates books. He didn't like the joke either, I
Yeah, I guess he
guess.
didn't like the
He
joke.
was
The punchline
pissed.
was about him. Unclear.
I I don't know, but the fact that something this small can lead to this thing like causing havoc,
Yeah, like taking
like
away who knows what.
we will see in just one moment. Like what is going on? I feel like we need some explanation of what caused this because this could
Yes.
mean that this world could end in like a second if it just takes dropping a
Doomsday.
book. Dude, who knew that a book could lead to this? A small little book that
That's
has
the power of
jokes in it.
knowledge.
Hey, you know what? The power of laughter.
It
So
could lead to doom. Perfect. Could end the
learn
world.
from this, kid. Stop laughing. Stop telling jokes to
Shut
people.
it down.
Okay. Cut that
You're
shit off.
ruining things.
So Rini rushes back over to see, like, what the fuck happened? What caught everything was
What did you
fine two
do?
seconds ago. What happened? And Livingston, at first, he's just trying to kind of play it off. Like, well, I mean, it was just one core spore. Like, how much trouble could that actually
Okay.
cause?
We don't know
But
Livingston.
we do now because he looks
Oh no.
down at a book on the floor and he
Okay.
picks it up off the ground and he sees that all of the words on the front cover are gone. And he looks around at some other books and sees all of the words are gone.
Like in the book too, like on the pages.
In the book, on the pages, all words everywhere gone,
Okay.
forcing him to realize that one core spore being released from the core can actually lead to plenty of trouble. So, yes, as you
I'm
have
so
just kind of deducted
confused.
there,
I deducted
it
something.
would,
Tell
you
me what I
did,
deducted.
it
Tell
would
me.
appear, I believe, maybe from what we're seeing happen in this episode,
Uh-huh.
that the core spore that was released somehow controls words in Animalia.
Like
And when it was
okay.
released, written words, I
Written
should
words.
say,
Okay, okay.
written words only, yes. And when it was released, all of the words, written words in Animalia began to disappear.
So the core is more like,
Mhm.
and the core spores are more like the fabric of the universe here.
Mhm.
Like
They are the
you
fabric
pluck a
of
little string, you pluck a little thread out of place, and
boom, boom, butterfly effect.
yeah, yeah.
Everything goes crazy. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, to me, it seems like each spore gives the animals a different ability.
Yes.
And
Okay.
without any of them, I think they just go back to being regular
Animals.
wild animals, which is kind of like
Yeah.
what we saw in the first two episodes. And I think mostly in
Yes.
like episode two with the Bill of Rights, those 10 core spores being ejected. That was like
Yeah.
the
Everything was
primary
bad. Yeah.
gifts. Exactly. But there's more than 10. Like on the
Yes.
Wikipedia page, there's like a massive list of them, and none of the ones that we've covered were in that list, it seemed like. So,
Yeah. Okay. These are all
um,
just the subsequent laws, I
yes,
guess, slash
exactly.
fabric of the
Yeah, or like
universe.
there's
Yeah.
like maybe like a thinking core like that gives the animals the ability to like think and be like have a
Okay.
conscience maybe
Yeah.
there's so it's kind of like that like and without any of them they're just regular wild animals but at the same
Yes.
time so like I guess that's where they're going with all of this but at the
I
same time we never get an understanding of why the core is destroying self-destruct. I don't know what's happening.
I
How do we describe it? Is it
I feel
self-destructing?
like the issue mainly about our confusion, at least mine, is the choice of the writers to have, yeah, this like godlike being and the law of man, like of being like, we call this a
Hmm.
Bill of Rights, and here's this thing that's totally out of our control. We didn't write it, we didn't set it, anything like that.
Yes.
Like that's
Yeah.
the
And it's like
like it should have
magic.
been called like the list of gifts from the core that we all are endowed with by existing
Yeah.
here, which I guess is
Yeah,
what a Bill of
exactly.
Rights, like, in theory is like your God-given
Yes.
rights or whatever, your core given
Yes.
rights. But I
You live
think
here, so
that for
these are
some
the, yeah.
reason is just really throwing me off those two things because,
It is because it's also for our human civilized brains comparing like the right to like free speech with like the right to talk, you know?
right, the right
It's
to
like
form
what?
sentences,
Yeah, or like the right to not want to eat the animal sitting right
the
next to you
right
is like
to make
akin
a
to the
joke,
right to bear arms. Yeah,
like the right to have
right to make
humor.
a joke. Yeah. So that's why it's just weird calling it the Bill of Rights, calling it, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah,
that's I
you're right.
think
They should
like
have said
what
like
is
the
making
gifts of
me,
the course for, or
yeah.
the rights of the course. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
But
just
they
like
were they
the powers invested in us by the
yes.
core spore or by the core. Like
Yeah,
I think
which
that's
yeah.
what's throwing me off, and that's they were like, I don't know, PBS loves talking about history. Use the Bill of Rights. Use that
Yeah, use the
word.
Bill of Rights. That's how we're going to get it on PB. They're shopping around for channels to put this
Yeah.
show on. And the only way PBS was going to take it is if there was some sort of specific like political science or government term
Yes.
in
And they're
it so
like,
that it had
sure.
more American educational value. But
Yes.
yeah, I feel like when you're doing a show like this, when it's already so out there and so weird, this fictional world with all animals ruling the society and
Yeah.
everything in a like but not in like a modern way, in a very like
Yeah.
archaic kind of way, like just
Yeah.
go all in, don't then bring in these like modern day human terms
Yes.
like Bill of Rights
And to
and
be like,
did you
Bill
know the
of
Supreme Court of Animalia, which I don't know if they
right.
say that, but they
Well,
might as
Bill of
fucking
Rights
well.
and then no other government entities. Like there's a
Yeah,
Bill of
exactly.
Rights arbitrarily.
And
Well,
that's it.
and I don't know. Yeah, I'm thinking way too much about
Some of
it,
these
but
things, yeah, which, and we'll keep talking about like the government entity of it all in this episode
yes,
too.
it feels
So
so
yeah,
confusing.
maybe more pens being dropped here
Yes,
and
they
there,
definitely should
but
have picked one of the paths of like animal
yeah,
run government or like
the core is
omniscient, all
everything,
powerful
and
being of the core.
exactly, which I feel like
Separate
could get
church and
kind of
state
dark for a
here.
child show because
Yeah,
like then what are
true.
they like worshiping this core type thing? I don't know, but
Yes,
yeah,
they
hey,
are.
lean into it though. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Maybe
exactly.
kids want to see that, so you don't know. Anyways, so yes, what does this release of the course for this loss of all written words in Animalia? What does this look like for all of our Animalians who, like I
Mm.
said before at the beginning of this episode, we're in the middle of enjoying like the most perfect of all perfect mornings in
Yeah.
this weird land in which they all live. So we start before we get to like actually the core four and all of them. We start with the mouse newscasters who you
Okay.
mentioned, I think, in one of your recent episodes, who we talked about them being just like Anchorman, like the two
Uh-huh.
broadcasters and
Veronica and
Anchorman.
Ron. Yeah.
Yes. And I forget what we said in that, if we were like, wait, was that based on this or vice versa? Because I forgot, Grace, that Anchorman came out in fucking 2004. Do you realize that it's
Uh,
21 years ago?
uh,
So that came out before this. So they were
uh,
obviously almost
based on,
certainly,
yes,
definitely inspired by then. But
I'm
yeah,
saying
I
they
was
were,
like,
yeah.
wait a minute, Anchorman came out that long ago?
How would you
Which made
say
me feel
20,
really
how
old.
many years ago? 24 years ago?
21, or yeah, it came
21
out in
years ago?
2004. So yeah,
Damn.
2004. That's
Damn. What was I
crazy.
doing watching that at 12?
Also was my
11 and
question.
12.
So we had older brothers, so like we
Yeah,
just watched
damn.
it because I remember we had it on DVD, so we probably got it shortly after it came out. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just remember watching it with my
I love
brothers,
that movie,
and
but yeah, wow,
yeah,
21 years ago.
10
That's
years
insane.
ago, we're old.
Yikes.
Anyways, so yes, the newscasters, they catch wind of this crisis because they're like reading their broadcast
Oh,
and all the
right.
words
Oh,
disappear.
no. They go
And
off
because they have
script.
sources inside somewhere, yes. And the reason why I had to bring up Anchorman again and these newscasters being based off of them is because we have seen how Ron Burgundy reacts when
Yes.
he does not have words in front
He
of
has
him
no
or does not
script.
have the right words in front of him
Yes.
to read
And
off
go
of the
fuck yourself, San
prompter.
Diego.
It basically the male anchor here breaks the fuck down without any script to
He
follow.
always
He
is.
just like freezes and starts babbling and starts asking someone if he can have some cheese while
Oh,
the woman mouse anchor cuts in and like actually does the news for a second and warns
also,
everyone. Yeah.
I would say, sorry, that's the equivalent of when Ron
Uh,
Burgundy's like, scotch, 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 scotchy, scotch, scotch, like
That's
off
it.
air.
That was more it,
Cheese,
obviously,
cheese,
than the like
cheese.
"fuck you" Sanford thing. Yes, it
Cheese,
was that.
cheese.
Like he was just he was just babbling, like and yep, and I want some cheese, and that's it. You're right. They definitely were based off of Anchorman. The
Yep.
more and more we watch it, we see it. So yes, the woman girl mouse, female mouse
I just
does
call her
like
Veronica
actually
Corningstone.
we will. We're just Veronica and Ron. That's their
Yeah.
names here. Veronica actually delivers the news, telling the
Mm.
people or warning the animals of Animalia that all words have disappeared and or are disappearing currently.
Mm.
And so then we see the core four back in the treehouse. Iggy is freaking out that his poem has now just like all of the letters on it have turned into just warbled chicken scratches. And
Oh,
Alex looks down at his song lyrics and says, "Oh my God, me too." Which I'm like,
eh.
sorry, that stinks, Iggy.
Not a
That
loss.
stinks. Sucks for you, Alex. Go throw that piece of paper away. And so Zoe then looks down at her phone and sees that all of the letters on her phone
Oh.
are also disappearing, which to me is super interesting because this means that it's not only so the core doesn't only affect things that are created in Animalia.
Yes.
Because this is the phone that she brought in from the real world, as far as I can tell. Like, I
Right.
don't think they gave her some cool, like,
No, yeah,
jungle
she loves her
phone.
phone. Okay.
Yeah, so even that, she looks down at that, and it's, although I
Oh.
guess Alex was probably writing in his personal journal too, so
But like
that's
writing
one thing, but
there on this, like in that
yeah,
universe already. I don't know.
yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Versus, yeah. So you're right when you say that the cores actually are like the fabric of
Yeah. Because they brought
reality
it
here. Like they
into this
create the
reality.
mass and like, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So this is intense. This is getting
Okay.
a
We're
little
gonna
too
end
physics heavy for
like,
me.
does this whole like series end with like the like interstellar like final scenes and stuff?
I hope not, because then I'll be crying. Oh
Alex as
man.
Matthew
Yeah.
McConaughey.
Yeah. He's like going through the Tesseract. Zoe ages like 500 years when Alex returns.
Yeah. But still returns
Oh.
into this universe somehow.
Wait, and we did figure out though that is how time works in Animalia though. Remember,
Yeah.
because she went back to the library and her friend's like, "You've been gone for
It's
like
like
15 minutes."
yeah,
And she
at
was saying
most.
days. Yeah, at
Yeah,
most.
she's
She's
like, I've
like,
been
"I
gone for
just
like a
fucking got off the
week.
phone with you." Yeah,
Yeah.
which
Uh,
okay, whatever.
this is a
Oh
heavy
man, we
episode. We got a
might
lot of big
this
questions about
it's a
God,
heavy episode.
the
It's a heavy show.
universe, government.
What's happening? It's so philosophical.
Truly.
So yes, the core gang, they're all starting to freak out. And then they tune into this emergency broadcast and they hear that this is like an official
Mm.
issue going on all over Animalia. So they decide to go to the library to try to help Livingston figure out what's going on. Tyra, meanwhile, has arrived back at his mansion, and Fuchsia's already there, like working,
Mm.
reading through stuff, just like she's got her notepad out doing work. And so he walks up to her and tells her to do some research and find any law, some law at all, that will allow him to get gabooted out of his tree house.
Sorry, that's pretty funny. Kabooted.
It was good. I had to add it in
They
there.
still got that joke spore, clearly. Spore in the
Yeah, they
in the
didn't
core.
lose that one. Yeah, they still have their sense of humor. They just can't write it down on pieces of paper.
That's fine. Yeah.
So Fuchsia, though, tells him that that's impossible right now because it's like kind of this whole thing going on in Animalia now. Tyra hasn't gotten caught up on the news that all
Oh.
of the words, codes, regulations, written laws, everything have disappeared. And of course,
Uh-oh.
Tyra, like a good capitalist, Tyra doesn't see this as a crisis. Oh, no, 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 but rather as an opportunity.
Okay.
And we get to that in just a
Okay,
moment.
I was
More
like,
on
what could
his
this
antics
opportunity
in light of
be?
this basically anarchist moment, this moment of
Yes.
like anarchy and
That's where I
chaos,
thought it
right?
was going to go to of like,
Yes.
so if there's no written laws anywhere,
Hmm.
what happens?
What's the law? Exactly. And that's at some point in this episode, that is a quote. Like he says something along the lines of, well, in the absence of any written laws and all of that, who should be the one making the rules and laws? And Fuchsia just
Oh.
rolls her eyes like, let me guess, you? And
Yeah.
then, yeah, he's like,
He continues
obviously.
on. Yeah.
Exactly. So Allegra, meanwhile, how is she handling all of this?
Oh, her new
Well,
sign.
her sign, exactly. She is devastated.
Ah,
I mean, like
she
on
spent a
her
lot of money on
knees,
that.
crying,
Oh,
screaming.
the diva is gonna
Super,
diva.
super dramatic music playing behind her, obviously. Because, yes, when she went to go check on her fancy neon pink sign, she saw absolutely nothing but a steel frame in its place.
Mm.
And she takes this personally because she doesn't just see the, of course, it's Allegra. She's a narcissist. She wants to
Yeah,
be the most
it's
famous
gonna be
person or
personal.
animal in the swamp. Exactly. Because she doesn't just see this as someone, like stealing her sign, her property, or whatever.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure that she gets the news in her swamp shack either because she doesn't quite understand what's going on. She just sees her
Yeah.
sign missing and she thinks that it wasn't just an act of theft of property, but it's that
Oh.
someone has stolen her name, like her actual name.
Oh. Who is
Remember,
she?
she wants her name to be the most famous one in the swamp.
Mm.
She wants everyone to know where to find Allegra. So her whole thing
Mm.
here is that someone is trying to steal her fame and her
Damn.
fans and her turf because they
Damn.
want to be Allegra.
Don't we all?
That is something that warrants seeing a therapist, if you ask me, because that is interesting behavior and an
This runs
interesting
real
thought
deep.
process. This goes deep. Like
Do
talk
they
about making
have
a,
these
a
in
global
Animalia?
crisis all about you, you know?
This is the
That's,
definition of a narcissist. Like the word's
yes.
thrown around a lot, but
But
girl, there's
this
maybe
time,
anarchy and no law anymore, and
yeah,
you're worried that someone is taking your brand? Question
your
mark.
brand, exactly. Trying to steal your brand.
Okay.
Yes. So, yes, her two gator gals and her, they hop on this like weird bike thing where like all three bikes are attached together, but also the
Okay.
alligators like lay down on them.
You lost
I
me.
just,
I was like, great, three
it was
bikes.
something.
What?
And there also doesn't appear to be a pedal, so it just
Oh,
kind of
that's my
goes.
next question. Was how are they pedaling? Like with their front arms or
They're
their back
laying
arms?
down. I don't
It's a
know.
hoverboard?
Anyways,
Okay,
so
great.
that's what it seems like at first, maybe, but it does have wheels. So,
I
um,
can't get caught up in it. Okay,
but
great.
whatever. Anyways, Alex, Zoe, Iggy, and Gabooboo, they get to the library with just enough time to get a quick rundown on the crisis from Livingston and Reenie,
Mm.
which basically they explain to the kids that all of the books in the library are now wordless and thus ruined, including the Animalia Bill of Rights, which, as we
Okay.
know, maybe, I think, controls the ability for the animals
All right, hold on.
to
Now
write and talk.
I'm re-confused because if the Bill of Rights came from the core and those little birds flying around in there, then those still exist and can speak and tell them again. Presumably, Livingston had to listen and just write it down, so you can just ask him again.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know,
So,
I just need radical acceptance of this show and this
yeah,
logistics.
radical acceptance.
of what the government and religion and fabric of this universe is. You know,
Pure blind faith.
just
Just
that seems to be what they have too. So great.
we are immersing ourselves into the
Yes.
Animalian cultures and ways.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So
Yeah, we're
Livingston
having
is
culture shock. Yeah. Immerse ourselves into culture.
that's literally what this all boils down to.
Culture
Yeah,
shock. God, I don't mean to be so insensitive, but I'm just having a
I
lot of culture
know.
shock right now. Okay.
'Cause we are trying to accept it too. We're like, no, no, no. We're trying to learn. Okay,
Really
it's just a
trying.
lot to take in, you
I
know.
just didn't do my
So
research before I showed up, you know?
yeah.
Like I should
So
have.
basically, the gist of all of this that Livingston is telling them is that Animalia is about to turn into a legit jungle in the absence of all written laws and codes
Okay.
and the Animalian Bill of Rights. Um, and just after Livingston explains the severity of this happening, the library is swarmed by the newscasters of Ron and Veronica,
Uh-huh.
who immediately start pressing Livingston for answers and explanations to this current crisis,
Mm.
obviously on a live broadcast. And Livingston just calmly or tries to calmly explain to them that the missing words are likely the result of a missing core spore that went blasting off this morning.
I don't know how it
Alex,
would have gotten knocked out.
I
Surely no
have
one's
no
so
clue.
careless.
I know this thing just has a mind of its own. It's
That's
crazy. Who would have?
crazy
I
that
don't
it
know
could have
how
done
these
that.
things happen.
Rini, did you
Yeah.
erase the tapes?
Yeah. Delete all pictures. So Alex then, hearing that it's because of the core spore that all of this is happening, he
Mm,
then volunteers the core four to go off and find this core spore so that they can
cool.
save the day. And so they immediately take off on their journey while Livingston continues to like answer questions from the press and tries to just kind of keep the public a little calm.
Okay.
And like they cut in and out of clips from this press conference throughout the episode.
Uh-huh.
But just one thing that I have to point out, which comes back to your like, what is the government of all of this sort
Uh-huh.
of question and comment that you made earlier? One thing he says is that like apparently it's come out, the newscasters let him know it's come out that this is like some sort of conspiracy in Animalia, that the government actually stole all of the written words and is keeping them from the animals for some reason, which is wild. I don't know where like why would they do that?
They want the
Um
laws, which need
yeah,
to be written
exactly.
down then, in theory.
Exactly. And so Livingston has to explain, like, folks, I assure you, the government did not steal the written
Oh my
words.
God.
I am the government, and I can't even remember where I've left my wallet.
Oh my
And
God.
my face did the same thing yours did when he said, I am the government. Because I was like, that's
Oh,
not a good look, Livingston. Is this so it's a dictatorship.
I guess here's the
Livingston is the
dictator.
government. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
and
means
the
that the core is the god.
yes. Okay, and I'm sure
So
Livingston is like, I'm the dictator as chosen by God.
by God.
A
Yes, exactly.
classic line.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yes.
He said, King of the Jungle,
So
say less. I'm
yeah.
here.
So you asked what is the government structure of
It's
Animalia? And the
like
answer is dictatorship.
it's like the like flow
So
chart is like course
core
for God, one line
Livingston.
Livingston, one dotted line Rini.
Rini, exactly.
That's
Like
it.
his assistant
Yeah.
and no one else. That's it. And it's not even like if something happens to Livingston, Rini's the
There's
next
no
in line.
successor.
It's
No, that's
just
why
like,
it's dotted.
no, exactly. Yeah.
There's no more government.
So, yeah,
Wow.
that answers that question and that bit of speculation on our part.
My mind is so
Afterwards,
frazzled by my mind's being rocked by this episode.
again, culture shock.
Oh
This
God,
is
I'm having
just,
so much culture
we're
shock.
learning a lot about this place today. So the core four stops in a little plaza area outside of the library to kind of like put together a game plan for how to find this one singular core spore that's flown
Mhm.
off into the jungle, this massive world of Animalia, this massive jungle. So they're sitting on this nice little decorative retaining wall, which, just as a note, kind of going back to the whole like written language thing, it has
Mm.
all of these really cool hieroglyphics kind of carved, or like hieroglyphics, I guess, because it's
Uh-huh.
obviously different world. I don't
World.
fucking know. Carved into the stones that make up this retaining wall slash
Okay.
like bench area. And one of them is like an eye, almost like the Eye of Horus or something like
Okay.
that, and a few other symbols. So this, in addition to just being an interesting demonstration of the like evolution of written words in Animalia,
Yes.
it also just kind of seems like a precious piece of architecture,
That
and
they're
like the
sitting on.
core spore just like sits on and like, all right, guys, so what do we do next? Boo like
Like
perched
kicking
on
their
it, this
feet against
massive,
it.
yeah, gorilla.
Damn.
Anyways, so while they're
No
sitting on this
respect.
artifact, they determine that the wind at the time that the core spore was released from the core was likely blowing to the west. So they know that they can at least
Okay.
start their search to the west of the library.
Okay.
But they ultimately decide to split up because Zoe's like, I think we need to like take the high ground and look from above. So she and Iggy go back to the treehouse where they decide to use the telescope to look, from higher up around. I
Okay.
think they're like, we'll still look to the west, but like we'll look from up there,
Yeah.
while Gabubu and Alex decide to go by it on foot and look
Okay.
through the woods that way. And hilariously, as they split up, Zoe and Iggy start walking one way, and she looks back and playfully says to Alex, like, bet we find the core spore first.
Oh.
And then she walks away and she turns around and walks back away. And Alex is like, oh, yeah, well, bet you don't. And then he looks at Gabubu and says, guess I showed her. And Gabubu looks so embarrassed. And Alex just immediately like wipes the smile off of his face and like puts his head down. Like, it's actually pretty sad. Like, I don't think Alex, we've discussed this in the past,
No
but I don't think
friends.
Alex had many friends on the real world. And so Zoe
No.
is like his first friend. And so we literally see him in real time learning how to socialize with other humans. And it's
While socializing with a gorilla.
he seems much more comfortable talking to animals than he does his
Yes.
peer, this girl who is exactly
Oh.
his same age.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yikes.
anyways, Alex and Gabubu head west, and they go first through the Forbidden Forest. And Zoe, like I said, she's setting up the telescope back at the treehouse. But
Mhm.
shortly after her and Iggy get to the treehouse, they're interrupted by Tyra, who has come back with a vengeance, ready to
Oh.
create his own laws and evict Gabubu in the absence of all written words.
Okay.
So Tyra tells the two of them that the laws basically state, or like that the housing agreement basically states that a drum owner can be evicted if he ever leaves his home in the absence of any of, or in the event that all writing disappears or something like that.
Um,
That's like exactly what Zoe
uh,
does. She's like, I really believe you. And so she basically is trying to stall Tyra. And
Smart.
Tyra also brought his warthog lackeys with him to
Yeah.
help toss out all of the furniture and shit and to like force them out
Oh,
of the
damn.
treehouse. Yeah, like super realistic. Again,
This shit's
well,
heavy.
this is not culture shock because this is literally exactly what happens
Yes, very
in
true.
the real world. So yes, so she stalls Tyra. She
Okay.
tells Iggy to run back after Alex and Gabubu and get them to come back so that they don't get evicted. Because basically, as long as Gabubu is there, Tyra says he can't be evicted. So that's why he's
Interesting.
trying to like do it now before Gabubu gets back.
Yeah.
The warthogs, though, they see Iggy sneaking out of the treehouse, and so they chase after him on their
Mm.
ATVs for a moment because their chase is interrupted when they crash headfirst into Allegra and her
Oh,
gator
no.
gals
She's
on
already
their
upset.
crazy bike thing. She's already pissed. And while this gives Iggy an opportunity to get away, like you said, Allegra's already mad. So she sees these warthogs, and like apparently they have a reputation for being thieves and like kind of like the local criminals.
Uh,
So she immediately accuses them in her blind red rage of stealing her name. And then
mm.
she starts chasing after them because the warthogs are much more afraid of Allegra than they are of Iggy. So they
Ah.
run the fuck out of there or ride the fuck out of there as Allegra and her two gator gals chase
Hmm.
after them. But even though Iggy had a chance to get away, the struggles for him continue because finding Gabubu and Alex in this massive jungle proves obviously to be
Right.
a bit
And
difficult.
he is a
Um,
small iguana trying to
Tiny
find like
iguana,
a
his
thousand steps for
his
Iggy's one
little
step for
legs.
Kabubu.
And it's so cute the way that they animate his running, like his little legs, like he's trying
Oh,
so
like
hard
going
to
so
move
fast.
fast, but it's like you're so small and you're not going anywhere, buddy.
This isn't working.
And and because remember, Alex and Gabubu are deep in the Forbidden Forest by this point, so like they're
Mm.
pretty far away. They're not like two steps away from where they split up. And it's that just doesn't sound like a safe place for Iggy to go, anyways,
No.
into this Forbidden Forest. And here in the Forbidden Forest, Gabubu is very hesitant to go deeper because he hears like roaring and growling and weird noises coming
Oh.
from like high up in the trees, which should alert Alex to turn around if his massive gorilla friend is saying,
Right,
hey,
is
we should go
scared.
back. Yeah. But instead, Alex just tries to make Gabubu like feel like a baby, kind of chiding him for being afraid of
Alex.
jungle animals
Well,
or
you don't have
giant
friends.
jungle spiders. Exactly. He just cannot relate. He cannot empathize at all.
No.
And so, although we don't see any giant jungle spiders, we do see almost equally as bad a very giant jungle spider web. And this
Okay.
scares the fuck out of Gabubu. He's like shaking and refuses to take a good look at it. But
Interesting.
Alex moves in closer, seeing that there isn't a spider there. And he's looking at it like absolutely fascinated and just in awe of this beautiful webbed work of art. And it is really cool. I mean, it's a massive spider web, so sure,
Yeah.
it looks cool, but you would never catch me just like staring at it that
No,
closely.
absolutely not.
But I got to give it to Alex because as the light shimmers through the leaves on the tall trees and down to the jungle floor, we
Mhm.
see the spider web reveals a pattern again similar to the Eye of Horus, which
Okay.
is very beautiful and like magnificent the way that they've animated it. It looks really
Yeah.
cool, but again, giant spider web. Let's get the fuck out of here, which is exactly
Yeah.
what Gabubu does,
Oh, he
basically.
leaves him?
So, no, I mean, he starts to turn around, but conveniently, Gabubu gets a phone call on his grapevine.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the
They have
grapevine
those.
phones.
Yes. And it's Iggy because Iggy also,
Smart.
again, like we say, he knew that this wasn't going to work. He's like,
He
I'm
was
not
actually
going to
running
run
to a
and get them in
payphone.
time. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly. So he calls Gabubu and he warns Gabubu and Alex that Tyra is trying to evict them from Gabubu's treehouse. Specifically, Iggy says, Gabubu, we have found trouble, and trouble has a name. And Gabubu responds, yeah, and that name is Peter Applebottom.
What?
And then we hear the mysterious foreboding, like guitar chord play, like in the background.
What? Did I miss something?
And
What the fuck is
that's
that?
basically what Iggy says. Iggy's like, who?
Okay, great. Thank God. I was like,
So
what?
Gabubu tells Iggy that he'll tell him about it another time. And when Iggy said who, I literally at the exact same time said who and had to pause and think like, wait, did I miss something?
Yeah, okay,
Did I
that's what I
miss
just
what
did.
happened? No. And so, like Gabubu said, I'll tell you next time or I'll tell you another time. I'm going to tell you about who the fuck Peter Applebottom is in my next episode because at
Oh
this
my God. Okay,
because
so it's just a
there
nebulous
is
laying of blame.
yeah, he literally, and this is why I said maybe part one, maybe episodes 1 and 2 were not the only ones that connected in this series because he just name drops this character that has nothing so far to do with this show. And as I
Just
did a Wikipedia
foreshadowing.
deep dive and like fandom wiki deep dive on this, I realized Peter Applebottom is a character who appears later in the series, and
But Gabubu is
he's only
name
mentioned a
dropping
couple
early.
times. This is his first name drop of the season, though. So put a pin in Peter
For a
Applebottom's
couple
name for like
weeks.
2 weeks. Yep. As soon as I heard that, I was like, all right, well, whatever episode I was going to do next week, I'm not doing anymore
Changing.
because I now need to figure out
We gotta
who
figure
Peter
out who the fuck
Applebottom
this
is.
is.
And from my
Okay.
preliminary research, the answer seems like it's going to be an acid trip. So sit tight and get ready.
All right, I've got a couple weeks to prepare myself. Thank you very much for the
Exactly.
forewarning, for the foreshadowing. I'll be
You're
prepared.
welcome. So, Gabubu, he grabs Alex and they run off back to the treehouse to stop Tyra and save Iggy and Zoe. But by the time they reach the treehouse, it's basically too late. Like,
Mm.
I think they get there before they get officially like tossed out and they have a little bit of a back and forth. But basically, like, right when Gabubu and Alex get back, the core four is homeless. Basically, like they're sitting just out on the jungle
Oh
streets,
no.
trying to figure out
Out
what
on a
to do
log
next.
curve. Okay.
Yes,
Got a lot of problems
Zoe could
happening.
not hold Tyra off for much
Yep.
longer or long at all. Yep, and at the end of the day, it's an iguana and like a
A
12 or whatever
child
14-year-old
versus
girl
a tiger.
versus a massive tiger and two massive warthogs. So
Yeah. Yeah.
as the core four walks away with their heads down, slowly and sadly through the jungle, Tyra and Fuchsia stand on the patio looking at the vast jungle in front of them. And Tyra begins to plot and scheme ways to make more money off of this land in light of the disappearance of all words and laws.
Okay.
And he says something along the lines of, pretty soon, my name will be the biggest in all of Animalia.
Okay.
And Allegra,
Oh no,
she's
I was
still
about to say you
lurking.
better not you better hope Allegra doesn't overhear this shit, but oh, she's listening.
Allegra overheard that shit, and she
Oh no.
interprets it as a confession that Tyra stole her sign because it was the biggest quote unquote
Mm.
name
I see.
in
This is the
Animalia.
first line of thinking that I've understood this whole episode, to be honest. This is the first part of the world where I said,
This is
I
the
see point A and I see point B and I see how she got
I
there.
see it. I see how she got there. I
Yeah.
don't understand it. Like, I don't agree with it at all. She's an
Right.
idiot for
But I
going there and
see
getting it
it.
there that way, but I get it.
I
I
see the
see it.
line.
Yes.
I see her draw that line.
Yes. Yeah. So she crawls up to the treehouse and she accuses Tyra to his face that Tyra stole that sign and that she
Mm.
wants it back. But Tyra says that Allegra, no, she's misunderstood, and that he would never want to change his name to Allegra because it would be way too expensive to reprint all of his business cards, of course.
Oh.
But Allegra, she remains skeptical. She still doesn't believe Tyra.
Mm.
And out of frustration, she calls her out of frustration, Tyra calls Allegra an overgrown handbag, which
Oh, wow. Wait, they have the concept of alligator handbags in this.
I guess, which
I guess Tyra wears
leads
a
to more
tiger
questions
pelt,
than answers.
like
Yeah,
jacket and
yeah, that's
chair in his
true.
office.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow,
So
that's
yeah,
fucked.
super meta.
That's
Either
a
way,
threat.
it's mean. It's a threat,
Yeah.
exactly. And Allegra sees that. So this sends her anger over the edge and she
Okay.
starts chasing Tyra first out of the treehouse and then through and deep into the jungle.
Damn. Okay.
And Fuchsia's obviously just like rolling her eyes, like, man, he really shouldn't have called her that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well. And she just keeps looking down at her clipboard, whatever,
Yeah.
which doesn't
Which is
have words at this
blank.
point. So I don't,
Yeah.
she's doing, yeah.
Just some stick
Just busy
figures.
work, trying to look busy.
Yeah, so he doesn't ask for help. It's important to look busy. Very important.
So, without any other options and without having found the core spore, the gang heads back into town to go to the library and check again on Livingston, aka ask him for more clues. They're like, bro, we got nothing. We couldn't
Yeah.
find it anywhere. Help us, please. How do we find this thing?
Yep.
And inside the library, Livingston is busy reading through wordless books, aka he's just looking at pictures, trying to resolve
Great.
this crisis, which, can still be very helpful since he says a picture can be worth 1,000 words, right?
Classic.
But also because, as we discussed before with like hieroglyphics and everything, Rini explains that the very first written languages in Animalia were written in pictures.
Okay.
Um, so Alex is like, okay, yeah, like hieroglyphics. So maybe we can we might be able to help figure this out then, because Alex obviously is an expert in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Naturally.
So
And also interesting that
naturally,
the core slash god doesn't consider hieroglyphics writing because it's small pictures, but
yeah,
it was considered,
true.
I need to keep all these
Well,
questions to
it's
myself.
that's true, but it's specifically the written word. So like he's
Okay.
pictures are still there. So like Alex can
Okay.
sketch things and those
And it
don't
stays.
disappear. Yeah. So
Okay.
I guess it's like, okay, but
It's not
what about
communication.
translations?
Yeah, it's just the
Exactly. So
written
it's like
word. Duh.
it's different because like what
Okay.
about there are some like languages today that still use certain symbols and everything
Yeah. The
too to
written
like
English
translate things.
word.
Yeah, which
Very
again seems a little
specific.
limited and seems super Eurocentric and Western centric
Exactly.
and focused. So a
Wow.
slight criticism perhaps.
Hmm. Interesting.
So just
Interesting,
saying.
Animalia.
Hmm.
Interesting core.
Anyways, interesting. So they flip through some pages with Livingston, looking at pictures of cores and whatnot, and of old
Mm.
classic or ancient symbols or pictures that used to be the written language.
Uh-huh.
And they come across a picture that quickly catches Alex's eye, pun intended.
Oh,
Can you guess what it's a picture of?
the eye we've desecrated, we've seen in a spider web. AK probably
Spider
also
web,
desecrated. Yeah.
this like prophetic eye that keeps popping up in
The
this
evil
episode.
eye.
Yes,
Okay.
the eye, the evil eye, the eye of Horus, the all-knowing eye, the also
There's
one of the eyes.
lots of symbols
Yes,
here.
but it is the eye that he saw reflecting onto the spider web in the jungle. And yes, that was engraved on, carved into the
Yeah.
stone in that bench slash wall outside of the library. And so Alex explained or asks Livingston to explain what the symbol means. And
Mhm.
Livingston says that the symbol is for not only looking and seeing with your eyes, but it's also the symbol for seeking the truth that is hidden beyond our sight.
Okay.
Alex, I was like,
You're
okay.
saying this is some 14-year-old?
So,
Year old?
yeah, well, that for one. And two, it's like you use that one symbol to mean all that, like all those.
That's a
How do you
paragraph.
use it in a sentence?
Yeah.
What's
No
going on here?
wonder they switched language mechanisms.
Yeah, they're like, this is too
That's
confusing.
very confusing.
Yeah, people are misinterpreting everything.
Constantly.
But Alex has a light bulb moment, and all of the puzzle pieces fall right into place.
Glad they
And
have for
Livingston,
someone.
for at least for Alex, for no one else, for Alex
Yeah.
and for Livingston,
Okay.
because
Okay.
Livingston looks at him proudly. Like once Allingston, honestly,
Honestly.
might as well at this point. I'm starting to
Yeah.
think they're the same person in this like
Truly.
unfortunate coma world that we're living in.
It's a projection of himself.
Yes. So Alex, when he was like, I get it. It all makes sense now. Livingston looks at him proudly, like he kind of smirks at him,
Mm.
like, that's right, you get it. Which I interpreted in a weird way. Not gonna
Yeah.
lie, as Livingston almost like he knew the answer all along and
Is
was
this
just
like
waiting for Alex and
a,
Zoe to figure it out because
a
he's too
Dumbledore
fucking
Harry Potter
lazy.
situation?
Yes. Like pushing them to do the thing that needs to be done for the prophecy to be fulfilled, and just like,
I
oh, he knew that
yeah.
what it was. He's a lamb for slaughter, Alex is
Yeah.
just
Literally, he's a lion. I'm
he
gonna
knew the
slaughter
whole
you for
time.
sure.
Yes.
Eat you right up.
So it's
Wow. Okay.
weird
Hmm.
because yeah, like he looks at him very much like, you got it,
You're
man.
finally
Good
caught
job.
up.
Like
Maybe he's
you
training
got
his
it.
heir as the
For
dictator
the core.
for the
Yeah.
core.
He's trying to prove to the core that there is perhaps another godly enough being here to run all this shit
Or
when Livingston's gone.
mainly,
And
or
Livingston seems
possibly,
more frail. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, go
he's
ahead.
we don't know how long he's been around for. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it could also be that she was about to say of I completely just lost my train of thought because I was just
Mm.
thinking about him being the
Training,
heir.
proving to the core that
Oh
yes,
no,
he
like
is
any dictator,
worthy.
he doesn't know what he's doing, so he's got to have other people around him. He was like, "Yes.
Yes,
Yes." In reality,
yes.
he has no idea what Alex is
Just a
thinking.
yes man.
He's just
Yeah,
like, "Yes, and if you do it, it'll make me look good as the dictator, for we can't actually do anything. We need other people
exactly.
to do our work. So yes, I will smile and nod, human child. Yes, whatever you're
Smile and
thinking,
nod.
so am I.
Exactly.
Go for it. You
Uh-huh.
have my approval?"
Perhaps just yes, man. Yes, yes, yes. Yep. Just yes
Interesting.
and yes, man.
Yep. Okay.
So yes, the core four, they run out of the library and down to the plaza to that stone that has the eye engraved in it. And Gabubu, he uses his mighty strength to literally break apart that what seems to be precious and symbolic eye brick that's part of this
Okay.
plaza's retaining wall. And inside of the brick stone thing is the neon blue core spore, just
Because it
gently
was
glowing.
hidden. Because the eye hides something, 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 something.
because because the eye has a pickaxe that can break apart a massive stone and then put a core spore into
Yeah,
it and
wait,
then
hold
bend the
on.
stone back together and then hide it there.
And what's the spider web got to do with this? Why didn't they think that it was behind the spider web? Why didn't they go check that
I don't
first?
know.
Seems a lot easier.
And and so the other thing too about the spider web is that Alex says that at some point his whole light bulb moment, he gives this little monologue saying like, "Oh yeah, I've been seeing this eye all day. I sketched it in my sketchbook, but I didn't know what it meant. Now it all makes sense." And like we never see him sketch it in his sketchbook. Like we'd
Fucking
assume he
liar.
meant the spider web. You're fucking lying. What is this? What is this? So again, just raises more questions about like, well, what did the spider web have anything to do with it?
Yeah.
Because we assume that that's the one that he sketched, the way that he explains it and everything, and like you see his flashback into the jungle and all
Yeah.
that of looking at the web. But like, yeah, it had nothing to do with anything with any of this.
Yeah,
When
they never
he
went back
said
to
he had the
spiderweb.
light, right. Like that's where I was thinking they were going to find the core spore, like at that spider web or
Yeah.
something. And it was like some weird prophecy, like, no, look here, look where the eye is showing you. But no, that had nothing to do with it at all. Like they weren't even going in the right direction. The core spore was right outside of the
Was right
library.
underneath them the
So
whole time.
yeah, so just seeing the thing in the woods or in the jungle was just like a cool thing that the animators wanted to throw in. And I
Someone
think they
worked
wanted to tie
really
it together, but they
hard
forgot.
on that animation of the beautiful spider web scene.
Yeah.
And they were like, the original script said it was behind the spider web. We're not fucking cutting this. I spent 2 weeks
Yeah,
animating this.
exactly. Like I think that that probably is how it was. And there was this whole thing about Alex drawing it and everything. And then they had to remember how to get back through the jungle to find it and
Oh my
everything.
God.
But instead, they decided to lean into the plot of Gabubu getting evicted and like Tyra and Allegra having all this stuff. And
Right,
they're
so
like,
that took
oh,
up
well, now
too much time.
it took up too much time. We're like, oh, we don't have time. We gotta like
You're
cut
like,
out that
we
whole thing
spent
about like the spider. Yeah. But
$25,000 though on that spider web scene for the
exactly.
CGI. It's in
So
there.
they're like, if we don't put this in, we're gonna fucking go on strike. Like, do you know how
Yeah.
much work we put in for that? They're like, okay, fine, we'll leave that one scene
We'll leave
in.
it. Okay, great. It won't mean anything, but we'll leave it.
But yeah, this whole time, the core spore has been trapped inside of a stone somehow, right
Somehow.
outside of the library.
Okay.
So, anyways, another weird thing happens.
Wait,
Back
sorry. Really quick. Also, if I'm
yeah.
Gabubu and I learn that Livingston knew this the whole time, I'm fucking suing him because I just got evicted when you
Because
could have
of you.
solved this
Yeah.
hours ago,
The whole
days ago.
time. Yeah. And like this treehouse runs through Gabubu's family. So it's like
Yeah, I'm
this is generational wealth
absolutely
lost.
pressing
Yeah.
charges against the government here.
Yeah. Yeah. What does your Bill of Rights and the Course Force say about that when the
Yeah,
dictator gets
I'm
sued?
lawyering up.
Got
Okay, go
anything
on.
in there for that? that core spore conveniently gets
Conveniently
ejected
goes
from
away.
the core too.
My right as a citizen to sue my own government. Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't see that one fly
Oh
out when
no.
that one happened,
There's no core
Livingston.
for that. There's no core spore for that. Oh
Oh, it must
well.
have flown away long ago. He's like hitting it with a hammer.
Yeah. Guess you're homeless now. Sorry. Kaboo boo. Ugh. So yeah, so again, another weird thing happens back in the library when Alex cracks open this core spore to get the spore out and to return it to the core. The spore, he like holds it in his hands very gently,
Uh-huh.
and it just disappears. And when he opens the palm of his hands back up, we just see in place of the spore is like a miniature palm-sized Bill of Rights book.
The pocket constitution has returned.
It's like so tiny. Like Alex holds it up in amazement. It's like this big. It's literally like not even pocket size. It's so small. And he hands it to Livingston, who then notices that it's actually better than just the Bill of Rights. It's the new revised edition, which
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, so there's not even like a fake parliament or Congress here to approve the
no votes.
revised version.
No votes. No, hey, if there's
No due
no
process.
parliament to vote on it, exactly, there's no due process, there's no need to filibuster. So this is just a more, it's
This is
exactly
the
as Anakin
updated.
Skywalker said in episode 2. It would be much more efficient if one person could make all of these decisions on their own. And I think Anakin had a really good like heel turn or something that led to him being like a famous character. So I would listen to what he said.
Who's to say what that could possibly have led to?
What that could have led to.
Probably just didn't go anywhere after that statement. Wow.
Yeah. I think he became like a respected Jedi Knight and whatever after that. So
Loved
yeah, it was
following the
fine.
laws of everyone else, et cetera, et cetera. Wow, I'm shook right now by this lack of government.
Which, listen, my first thought to this, as someone who does own a pocket-sized constitution,
I thought you were saying as someone who works for the
of
government.
That too, because I also have a purse-sized version of the DC Constitution. But yeah, I got all the pocket size and purse size.
Yeah, what size you need? I got it.
I do. I got it. I got them right there on that bookshelf. So I appreciated it at first, but as a podcaster about cartoons and just a general viewer of this cartoon, I now am saying, well, what the fuck is the Bill of Rights? How is it created from the spore? What are the spores?
Yeah.
Does this change the 10 that were in there from the second episode?
Yeah,
do they get new revised editions
Let's
too?
see it.
Exactly. And yeah, can you read it? So Zoe, though, she's ready to see if this thing works. She's ready to get back to like texting on her phone. So Livingston slowly places this very tiny little palm-sized Bill of Rights in her hand, this red book, which also red book, interesting, whatever. And she slowly, just gently presses the miniature book back into the core. And the core does slowly start to change back to the warm, like yellowish orange color that we know it to be, or that it's supposed to be, I guess. And Livingston, he then picks up a book and he sees that all of the writing in it has been restored. And meanwhile, the Mouse newscasters, they get to an immediate emergency broadcast to alert the public that all the writing has been restored and life can go back to normal. The day has been saved. And then lastly, we see Tyra still running for his life through the jungle, like rolling down hills and everything, trying to get away from Allegra. And at this point, Allegra and her Gator Gals, they see that her sign is actually back up on her swamp shack. And they're like, oh, look, it looks like Tyrannicus didn't take your sign after all. And Allegra's like, I guess you're right. Well, anyway, see you guys later. And she just keeps chasing after Tyra because she tells her Gator Gals. Exactly. She tells her Gator Gals, like, it's kind of like a bag of chips. Once you start, you just can't stop. And she just keeps chasing after Tigra.
I guess that course for them not attacking each other is still a little loose.
No, it's still loose. I think Gabubu broke it when he cracked it open, so it didn't fully, it didn't
Never
reach
quite
everyone. There's
healed.
still a little bit of violence. And the end.
Wow. Okay. I feel rocked. You did an incredible job, by the way.
Thanks.
Incredible.
I feel like it because I'm more confused, but
no one wanted to, maybe before, like, enshrining this new revised Bill of Rights into, like, the fabric of the universe. No one wanted to flip it open and just double check that they're cool with it. Like, this is a dictator after all. He can just write a new one and make some edits. Maybe they were just like, no questions asked.
Revise. Yep. You guys better buy to it. Like, you'll get your copy in the mail. Yeah. And to be fair, I think that, one of the revisions that Livingston mentions, I didn't put it in here, but is that the jokes in it are better now or something. So he tells a joke to Rini and she actually laughs. So, like, that's one of the revisions. He's like, ooh, I like this new version.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like, that's the propaganda. That's what they tell you to make you think everything's okay. But once you get deeper in, you then also see that you do not have the right to a jury trial. You do not have
you are not innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly. So but, like, the jokes are better.
But the jokes, guys, kill them with laughter, not our other processes. Which will kill you.
No, which will kill you. The lack of due process will kill you. But the jokes, they'll also kill you.
They'll also kill you. You're gonna die under this new Bill of Rights, though. You have known. Wow, I'm so
more questions created than answered, as per usual. So
yes, and I have to say, Alexis, for those of you who may or may not know this, if you've been with us for a while, you know this. We don't tell each other the episodes beforehand. We know nothing about what the other person's doing. And I just got to say, when I was working on my episode this last week, I actually, like, the episode for next week that I was originally going to do, I was read the synopsis again. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. Let me just, like, rebrowse a couple of them. And I chose a completely different episode. And this ties in so hilariously to next week.
Oh no.
In like the worst way possible.
Oh no.
And that's all I'm gonna say.
How can it get worse?
That's all I'm gonna say about it.
Okay, well, let's sign off now so we can get started on next week's episode.
I can't wait.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I can't wait because, like we said at the beginning of this, as it turns out, these episodes are all connected.
Yeah, little did we know. Little did we know.
We're finding out as we go. Until next week, when you continue on this horrible storyline. I don't want to say the show's horrible. I'm just saying, like, what are we experiencing here? As you continue that confusion and everything for us, Grace, next week. Until then, who should everybody tell about this show?
I think you should tell Tyra Banks. Tag her on social media. She's active on there.
We might have done this before, but as the dictator of Saturday Morning Mysteries, I approve us doing this one again. So sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, no, I'm sure we have. We've brought her up so many times through, not even just this arc, just in general, but she needs a reminder, let her know.
Yeah, in case she's not listening, which we think she is, but
just in case, make sure she is. And after that, who else should our listeners and viewers tell about the show?
After that, I think you should tell Tyra Banks.
Well, have we done that before?
I think so, but
wait, it doesn't matter.
As the dictator of this podcast.
I thought you were going to say tell a dictator.
We can say, that
did we not say that though?
If by chance you've already told Tyra Banks or you can't get in touch with her, instead tell a dictator.
Was she not the dictator of America's Next Top Model in the modeling world in the mid-aughts? Was she not the dictator of it? So
was she not? I mean,
one and the same in the best way possible.
I don't think she would mind us saying yes, she was, and honestly still is in many ways. So on that note, until next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.